Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We're starting a whole new series. Check this out. We've got a really original one here that we had one of these a while back, but I haven't seen very many of these. This is New World, and what's so unique about it is that it's by Playmatic. So it's a New World pinball by Playmatic, which was not one of your standard companies. I believe that's a Spanish company, but I'll check that out just to make sure. They made things a little bit differently than their American counterparts, and some of the things I like better. For instance, there's this really thick, like clear coat on the Playfields of these, so the Playfields are always in real nice shape. So we're not going to have to worry too much about that. It should clean up pretty good. But this particular one hasn't been worked on in a while, I don't believe. That looks like it's part of a rubber ring from somewhere, but it looks like it was a rubber band, like somebody had put a rubber band on it. Rubber rings are missing where they broke. They probably ended up down here. So, we're going to look it over, see what kind of condition it's in, look inside of it, see what makes it different, and then we're going to fix it. The customer dropped it off for us and said, please get it working. We said, we sure will. So let's look through it a little bit. I'm going to guess maybe it was made around 76 like the other patriotic themed ones that we've had. Remember, this is from overseas, but boy, they are sure repping the stars and bars, aren't they? Look at that. Looks fantastic. This particular cabinet is in pretty good shape. You can see that they use the webbing similar to Gottlieb. So I'm wondering if that's the only thing that they borrowed from Gottlieb, or if all the inside is similar too. We'll find out here in a minute. And it appears to be particle board, MDF. So the cabinet's made out of MDF, which the pinball companies in America did later, up even through the 90s and stuff. So they started out, it was more plywood, and in the 80s, the American manufacturers switched to this too. But this machine, I'm pretty sure, is from the 70s because it's an EM. We have solved one mystery already. Made in Spain. That's cool. And I'm going to show you the coolest part of the whole machine. Are you ready? Now people, I didn't put that on there. And if it's up to me, I'd take that off. But it's not up to me, so I guess it's just going to have to stay on there. It says it's from Sport Divers Manufacturing, Miami, Florida. Divers do it deeper. I got a scuba license whenever I was in college. Divers do it deeper. Playmatic. What a cool looking coin door. Very similar to the Williams coin door. Williams? Have I got a Williams? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So far, we have the webbing from Gottlieb. So Williams did like a splatter paint where there's little dots. But that webbing was unique to Gottlieb in America. But look at the door, okay? 3 coin slots, square. See, the coin return is kind of rounded. Okay. Over here. What do you think? Coin return right there. So there's this little thing below the 3 things. Complete rip-off of Williams. What are they doing? Why would they do that? They must have just been big Williams fans. Coin return on the left. And if you think, Oh, Ron. Oh, Ronnie. They're all like that. No, they are not. Bally, completely different. Stern, completely different. More modern ones, completely different. Come on. That's a damn rip-off of a Williams coin door, if I've ever seen one. So far we've got the Gottlieb webbing and the Williams coin door. What is this? Pointed plunger. My, what have we here? I don't know if I've got one of them. Well, basically that's a Bally thing. What is this? Let me go look over here for a second. Oh, I can't tell. Yeah, I don't have one here, but Bally did that. It looked a little different, but it had a point on it. So the reason for that is so that you won't... Now, I'll bet people got hurt, because it was common practice back in the day to, instead of pulling the plunger, some people would just hit the plunger, right? Not on this one. And it's right there by your wrist. You know, that's where the good blood is. Okay, so pressed wood. This Bally Rapid Fire is pressed wood later on. This Bally Fast Break is pressed wood from later on. I call it pressed wood, but I guess it's MDF. Pressed wood, ahead of everybody else, it seems like. Webbing instead of splatter paint, just like Gottlieb. Coin door from Williams. So let's check out the Playfield. This type of apron, Gottlieb. I don't know if I don't have one here right now, but if you look at one of the older ones that I've done, just like that, with the slanted cards, on Gottlieb it would say ball in play, and there would be lights here to light up which ball you're playing. So it's kind of like they're taking the best of the companies and doing it similar and not worrying about copyright and stuff like that. Plastics. There are only 5 plastics. That's interesting. So there's one there, and then there's a huge one here that hasn't broken. There's a huge one there that hasn't broken, and then there's a little one there. So they've got big square pop bumpers, which is their whole, that's completely theirs. I haven't seen any other company that had those. They also have these really cool rollover lane guides that are metal. I haven't seen another company with them quite like that either. And if you look at the rollover switches, they're plastic. What's that all about? We'll find out soon. But look at the Playfield. It has these kind of pastel colors. It almost looks like construction paper or something, like you'd use back in school. And the lights are all opaque and like a weird construction paper kind of color. Remember those old like autograph books that you could get where it was just it was a book just full of a bunch of little pieces of construction paper that were all different colors? It kind of looks like that. But everything looks like it's in nice shape. Got some little stars on the spinners. Oh, the back has kind of the flag on it. So those will match the theme of the machine very well. Backglass is glass. I thought it might be plexiglass because it looks so good. It's in very nice shape. I see a few little flaws, but who's nitpicking? I'll just show you just so you can see them. There's a little bit of something going on there. No big deal. And if you let the light hit it just right up here, see on that second 0 there, you got the corners delaminating just barely, slightly. That's about all I see. Everything else looks pretty good. So you got a locomotive, a train, one of the old Wild West trains, because you know, it's a whole new world. Don't you dare close your eyes. And you got this guy with a long rifle, but he's also got pistols. That looks like Wild Bill Hickok, doesn't it? You got your wagons and your butts, And you got a big rocket here. And the moon. What a cool backglass. Boy, Spain really knew what America was all about, didn't they? Let me get the keys and we'll look in the bottom of it. See what's in there. Alright, so I slid the glass out, and the first thing I noticed is that the playfield isn't in the right spot. So those little hooks should hook into that, into those holes. The lockdown bar looks similar to a Williams. It's a Williams style lockdown bar. So let me see if this will slide back or something's messed up. The right corner up there, something's stuck. There we go. It should be a little more like that. It's not quite sitting flat though, so there might be something on this rail here. The reason it's got to be like that is because the shooter rod has to be able to stick out far enough to hit the ball. So that probably made it where you couldn't shoot it, but let's pop up the playfield and see what's under there. Okay, so when I picked it up, it slid way back in the game because they had it sitting in the wrong spot, basically. See the little divots here? Apparently that's happened many times. That's where the screw is hitting that as it slides past. So we'll make sure that ends up being alright. Okay, so you can see that the bottom board is much different than other machines. You have a, let me brighten it up here for you. So you've got a Bally style score motor there, but it has plastic cams and just everything looks completely different. Now a lot of times people tell us to tighten these up. I'll bet on these they may actually be loose. Nope, they're nice and tight. Okay, and you can see that the relays are completely different than what you usually see. They're just made completely different. Whoever, I mean I guess Playmatic, but whoever actually manufactured the relays, it's a completely different design. Instead of using Bakelite spacers, it looks like plastic spacers. And we'll see if that ends up being better or worse. It seems like last time I worked on these, I had some kind of problem with the clips. Yeah, I can see what it would have been. So we'll look at that later. Everything's very well labeled on the bottom, where you can see what all of the relays are and everything. And usually that's done with paper, but on this one, it's just silk screened onto that board that's down there. Looks like the board's sitting in there crooked, so it's probably because the back bolt is out of it. Nope, it's screwed down. Somebody just screwed it down in there crooked. No problem. That doesn't really hurt anything. We've got the schematics. That's good. That's very good. Playmatic SA, which doesn't that mean... SA means basically Spanish company. I don't know what the A... Maybe Spanish Association, or maybe it's in Spanish, so that's why I don't know what it means. But I think if any name that has SA after it, it's kind of like in America if something has Inc. Incorporated after it, then you know it's a corporation. So Spanish anything with a SA after it is a Spanish company. Lamps by Chicago Miniature. Chicago Miniature Lamp Works. Specializing in the design and manufacture of miniature illuminating, indicating, and energy-emitting devices. Energy-emitting devices. What a way to put it. Okay. Very cool. Everything looks good. Chime unit. But there's no resonator. A lot of the American ones would have like a plastic bucket behind it to make it sound louder. And then you've got this flat pancake style stepper motor back there. That's interesting. And there's like a stepper thing there. Let me lean the playfield back and we'll see what the bottom of the playfield looks like. Pretty wild, pretty wild. Big long plungers on the, I mean not plungers, but links on the flippers. But you're looking for play in them, and there's hardly any, so that's good. There's a little bit of a wobble, but I don't think that would take away power. Basically, when the coil comes in, it pulls this straight back. So if you've got a little bit of side to side, it doesn't really matter. You just don't want any play this way. So those are going to be strong as hell, probably. Look at the way the end of stroke switch is made. It's a big old fat switch, twice as wide as a normal one. So cool, so cool. Now, as I remember it, the last one that I worked on, see how these switch stacks are riveted? Those rivets break a lot, and so you'll get these that have broken loose. On the American ones, they had a nut. Basically, it was just done a little bit differently, where there was a flat piece of kind of like spring steel that compressed a little bit, and they had a screw and a nut holding it. But these are all riveted, yeah. See that one? I'll bet that's been glued back together. See all that stuff on it? So we'll see about that later. More relays. See, they do have the screws in them. This is one of those things, too, where if you needed to replace one of these switches, you wouldn't necessarily have to use a Playmatic switch. You could use I mean, they may be available, but if they're not, you could use an American one. Which would be made in China now. It's made. You could make one designed for an American-designed pinball machine. It's a drop target, which is like the who had those? Let me think. What did I have those on? That's very similar to the ones on what was the one I made with it had the little faces on it? I can't remember. I think the Gottliebs are like that. Very complex drop targets where they've got a bunch of switches to hit and stuff. Alright, yeah, see that one there? You can't see it from here, but that switch stack is starting to spread apart. But it has screws in it. But see how none of that stuff's flat anymore? From the ball bashing it, I guess it's messed it up a little bit. So that's interesting. Instead of having a spider on it, like the American ones would, it works more with the rivets like the old Gottliebs did. Very interesting. It's very interesting. So here's what I figured out last time. See the cotter pin there that holds the relay in? If you put that thing in wrong, like look how it's in where they've inserted it from the bottom. If you insert it from the top, if I can get it to spin around. Boop, boop, boop. So this is the problem I was having. If you insert it from the top, this one's not going to do it because it's bent a little bit. If you insert it from the top, when the relay pulls in, the actuator hits the cotter pin and makes it where it doesn't go all the way in like it should. So you got to put those in spun around where you make sure they don't interfere with that little blade there. We'll go over that more whenever we work on it. Very cool, very different. Just look how the flipper mechs are. I mean, they're just different. Nothing like the American ones. And the bushing, yeah, there's a bushing under there. It's inside that metal plate. Just very cool. Okay, so let's look in the back box and see what's waiting for us back there. Okay, so the first thing I noticed is their wiring looms are just done a little bit differently. They're a lot more open, or I guess it could be that they've opened them up. Yeah, maybe it's just the twine has deteriorated a little bit, but lots of thick wires, and they're all plastic covered instead of cloth covered. But some of the later Bally's were like that too. I think that Freedom we did was like that. So a ton of relays back here. It says 3-player score, 3-player reset, 2-player score, 2-player reset, 1-player score, 1-player reset. 4-player score, 4-player reset, 100 points, 1,000 points, 10,000 points, and the replay relay. Control reset, button relay, I think it says. Little stepper unit here, which will be your credit unit, obviously, with the numbers on it. And then there's another one here with some little numbers on it. I didn't catch what that was for. And I pulled out one of the score reels. It's just like a Bally. Like almost an exact copy. So the ones we've been working on lately, which the Bally's did work really well. Look at that. The thing's still working just fine. Now you might have a bunch of dirt on that board down there, but all that's used for is the match and the high score. Like the free game. Oh, if I can get it back in there right. The high score and the, you know, if you get 70,000 points, you win a free game. That. So I wonder what the numbers are for. I can't remember. I had one of these. We already filmed a video on one, actually. Oh, it says match feature. So that's how they did their match. So instead of lighting a light, it just pops up a number. Now notice the number, instead of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 0, on the 70s Bally's and stuff like that, it's a 100, 200, 300. Well, that's because you may have noticed on the front, it has 6 reels, but not really. It has 4 reels, and then this thing is a little dummy thing with 2 fake reels on it. So all the other manufacturers were doing 1 fake reel, they were doing 2 fake reels. I think, didn't some of the Bally's do that too, though? Like Air Aces and some of that stuff? Didn't it have, like, maybe not. I might be thinking of something else. But yeah, same thing. And they're high score plugs. So you can, you know, depending on which slot you put it in, it changes the settings for the score. There are these little curly wires. That's kind of neat. And they're Jones plugs. Those are always about the same. These are really tarnished though, so that might be, I don't know what kind of plating that is. It's like a gold color, but it's tarnished almost like silver does. But it's a little bit more platinum looking than silver. Very weird. Who knows? I'll bet some of you looked at that and said, oh, come on, Ronnie, you know what that is. Yeah, so everything's nice and clean. I don't think it'll be any problem to get it going. So I'm going to do something on this one that I usually don't do. You know what I'm going to do? We're going to plug it in and see if it does anything. Usually I don't do that. I just start working through them and fix them up and go for it. But on this one, it'd be interesting to see what it's not doing, and then at the end, after the videos of it, we can see if we fix those individual things. I want to show you one other thing too. These little chalk blocks here are made out of cut wood, you know, and then this is all MDF, like I was talking about, or I guess it's called MDF. We always called it particle board, but you know, there's different grades of that stuff, which might be the multi-density fiberboard, the multi-density part. Maybe that has something to do with it. But I think you can get different grades of it. And this stuff is a lot harder than the stuff usually is. That's like, that's not going to fall apart easily. Right? It's not crumbling or anything. I mean, I guess I could pick it if I wanted to. But in general, it's really solid. And it doesn't look like it's ever been wet. So the cabinet is still in great shape, all things considered. And that'll give you an idea of the paint. It's not really a Formica, but it's like there's a layer on the outside of it that I guess is a little more smooth, so that it can be painted better. Yeah, but it's made pretty well. Okay, so I'm going to lay the Playfield down, and we're going to actually try to play it and see if it does anything. Okay, so let's see if she wants to wake up. I plugged it in. Got a lot of lights on. So that noise you're hearing is the score motors just running non-stop. Non-stop. Let's try it one more time. Just for giggles, we're going to try to start it. Just hit the start button, see if anything happens. Sometimes if you hit the start button, it'll do that. Okay. So the Backglass, the tilt light is on, the ball and play light is on, and nothing's moving. That score motor is just turning over and over and over and over and over again. That's pretty common. So real quick, we're going to look at the schematics and see why it might do that. Now, we're not going to be able to fix it right here and now because it basically needs to go through and clean everything. But maybe we can tell by looking at the schematics why the score motor would just be turning and turning and turning. All right, so I'm going to show you why you need to go through and clean everything if you haven't yet. Now, if you just did 10 years ago, you probably don't need to do it again. But if you get one in unknown condition and it looks like it's just been sitting for a long time, you need to go through and clean everything like we do in the videos. And these schematics are laid out a little bit differently than they usually are because they're Spanish. But here is the transformer. So there's the plug coming from the wall, right? And somewhere you'll find the motor. So this is the score motor. So when we turn on the power switch, we hit this switch. You just saw us do it. And that connects power to the transformer. The other side's already connected, right? Been working on stuff. So the transformer's getting power. Okay. They've got it set up where they can move the lug depending on what the voltage needs to be coming out of the wall. All right, and the motor here is immediately connected. It's already, this little thing here is telling you that there's an on-off plug. So if it's plugged into the on plug, which they usually are, that side is connected directly to the transformer. Okay. Now this side can turn the motor on. So if this side is connected to the motor and this side's connected to the motor will turn. So the reason that you need that is so that all of these relays can turn on the score motor. So all of these have a different letter on them. So in relay C is, it says, the start relay. So when you hit the start button, it pulls in the start relay, which immediately starts the motor turning. Okay, and the motor will continue turning as long as the start relay is on, which isn't necessarily how long you hold down the button, because the start relay can hold itself on. You know, It's just all timing stuff while it's resetting things and everything. And then this here, index C, this is a switch actually on the score motor. So the reason that it has that is so that when this pulls it in, it starts turning, and this switch closes. That way it stays energized until it gets back to the home position, and that switch opens again. So if this relay comes in and just for a second and starts the motor, and then this relay opens back up, if the motor just stopped right there, it might not be in the right spot. So it needs to get back to its home position, and that switch holds it in until it gets to the home position. So the reason that motor is running is because this switch is closed, or the start relay is closed, or it could just be the switch on the start relay is touching even when the relay is open. So it could be on the start relay, it could be on the what they call the balls relay. That must be the Donnie relay. The X relay is the 5,000 point relay, the 500 point relay, the 50,000 point relay, the first coin relay, the bonus relay. P is the button relay. No, it says button replay. The R is the control reset unit. And then B is the second coin relay. So if any of those are pulled in, or if that switch on any of those relays is stuck, or maybe the blades on the back are touching or anything, any of that can have that running. So the only way to really, now if I had already cleaned everything in it and it was doing that, I would open it up and see which one of these relays is pulling in. So like if the first coin relay is pulling in, whichever one that was, well then I would look at the first coin relay and see what makes that pull in, blah, blah, blah. But since nothing's been messed with, we've just got to go through and clean every switch, and we'll run into the problem probably. And we'll catch all the other problems. So you might get lucky and figure out the one relay that's got one dirty switch that's making that motor run. But then when you hit start, the ball doesn't kick out, and it's because the out hole relay, the switch is dirty that kicks the ball out. And then once the ball kicks out, the 10-point score reel won't turn. Well, it's because that one's dirty and it needs clean. And then blah, 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 blah. It's just a lot easier to just go through and clean all of them, and then 90% of it will be working whenever you finish. Sometimes, every once in a while, you'll get lucky, and 100% will be working whenever you're finished. So that's what we're going to do in these videos. We're going to go through and clean everything, and if we run into anything interesting, we will film it. All right, folks, so that's where we're starting. Hope you enjoyed it so far. What a cool machine. I like these weird ones that are made by weird companies. We'll have to see how it plays. Looks like it's going to be cool to me, but we'll see. So leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. If you ever played a Playmatic machine, make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it. Did I mention you should give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it? Subscribe to us if you haven't already. And we'd like to thank everybody that's been using our Amazon links. If you don't know about that, down below the video, any of the videos, there is a link to Amazon. If you're going to go buy something on Amazon, before you do us a favor. Do us a solid. If you click the link, there's a few people have bookmarked the link. That's pretty cool. We appreciate that. If you click the link, it gives us a tip because we sent you to Amazon. So we get some of Jeff Bezos' money, and we can use that to fix more pinball machines. Isn't that cool? So thank you to everybody that's been doing that. Also, check out our website. Go to lionsarcade.com. It's got all of our games for sale on there. We don't have any pinballs at the moment, but maybe we do by the time you see this video. We're just fixing this for a customer. But check out our website. It shows you all the games that we have available up at the top of the page. And then also we have a parts page now where it shows you some of the stuff that we use whenever we do repairs. And then also we've got some of our merchandise on there, like t-shirts and coffee mugs and hoodies and pictures and stuff like that. If you want to support the channel, we appreciate that. And finally, don't forget to check out my brother Donnie, who is literally my brother. So my brother has a channel here on YouTube called My Brother Donnie. The link is down below. And if you enjoy watching me work on these old pinball machines, you might enjoy watching he and I work on old buildings. He's bought a bunch of old little run-down buildings in this small town near here. and we're fixing them up to help revitalize downtown. So it's really fun. A good time is had by all. So we'll see you over there, and we'll see you on this next video, which will probably be tomorrow, right? So be back here at the same time, same place, where we'll bust into this thing and start cleaning all those switches we were talking about and see if we can get this thing back to life. What do you think? Are we going to get it working again? I know we're going to get it working again. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you on the next video.